2014 Games athlete Jeff Evans sits and talks with us about his experience competing at the highest level of CrossFit, as well as transitioning in and out of the CrossFit competition spotlight. Let's listen in. Hi, I'm Jess.
I'm Brandon.
And this is In Lifting Color. And we have a special guest, and we will allow him to introduce himself. So tell us who you are.
What's going on, guys? I'm Jeff Evans. I am for the CrossFit world. I'm a former CrossFit Games athlete, former collegiate football player. Now that I'm retired, I'm a full-time dad, and just trying to get my hustle on.
Nice.
Cool.
Okay.
First general question: where are you from? Where do you currently live? And I guess you touched on it a little bit. What your fitness participation is?
Yeah. So I'm from Fort Myers, Florida. It's the west coast of Florida. Y'all might know it from I don't know if you listen to Plies. That's where he's from. Deion Sanders, Javon Curse. We got a decent amount of people from there.
Okay.
But so yeah, I'm from there, and I moved to Melbourne, Florida. It's on the East Coast, directly across from Orlando, right on the water.
Okay.
I think it was 2016 when I moved here, and I've been here ever since.
Okay.
And then as far as my whole fitness background, like I said earlier, I played college football. Same thing in high school football. I ran track. I was always the fast guy. Ended up earning a scholarship to play receiver. I was a little bit smaller than I am now. I'm about 215. People don't really see me as a receiver because my size. They usually think of the smaller guys. But yeah, I played receiver and graduated in 2011. And about a year later, 2012, towards the end, I actually found CrossFit from a buddy that was from California. He told me about it in October. I found out about an event called Pantheon Games that was in Miami. I trained 1 month for it and ended up getting third place, and I was hooked.
Oh my gosh, 1 month.
Yeah, 1 month. And it was and that's when Noah was he was about a year in, and I remember we had this long jump event, and being from a track background, I used to do that, playing around with all the guys that actually did it for real. So I had a little bit of on it, but he ended up scratching twice. That's how I ended up getting that third place, and I think I won a couple $100, which was cool. So
that is nice. Okay.
Yeah, but like I said, I was hooked after that.
Yeah. And then you did a little bit more after that Pantheon Games, I think. I might recall your name in some other categories and games events, maybe.
Yeah, so 2013 I went to regionals, 14 regionals, and I ended up making the games. I tell everybody all the time, I was very fortunate to come in at that time of CrossFit, because it was still those raw, legit athletes were the ones that you could tell they were just killing it out there. And me having that strength background, I've always been a strong guy. Even when I was in college, I was one of the strongest receivers and skill players. But that was a big plus for me, because guys they're out there struggling, trying to build the strength up, and I just had it naturally. So I had to focus on the opposite stuff, the conditioning, gymnastics.
Mm-hmm.
But I always felt like they gave me the perfect workouts that year to just execute my plan with my coach. Back then I was with Invictus, and we ended up making it. So, but yeah, at the games it was rough. that was a different beast. But and then after that, 16, 17, I went to regionals, and then I retired right after 17 after a pec strain. I'm sure y'all know about 2016, the rope climb, the whole incident at regionals. It was rough.
Yeah, we recall that.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
But I tell everybody, and I'm just being open and honest, with us, people of color, we got to act different, because there's not as many of us in here.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can't be out there, throwing a fit, pissed off and all that. You got to act a certain way, because I know I represent everybody else out there, and I don't want to get that whole stigma of we just, cry babies and can't take a loss and type thing. So, people always congratulate me on just handling that and thanking me for handling it that way.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive into that a little bit. All right, just personally, do you feel because of who you are as a person of color that you were being double judged in that moment? Like, do you feel like they were being more sticklers because of it? Like, they just another guy might have got away with it, even if you did do the right thing. Like to me, I remember that moment. It was a
I do
good.
too. We
It's a
were
good
there,
rep.
weren't we?
No, I
Yeah,
was there for that. We saw that one on TV. I think.
Oh, okay. Yes, we saw it. Okay.
yeah, because they end up replaying it in slow mo right
Yeah.
after, and everybody, like, while I was there, everybody, the entire crowd started booing. Like, it was nuts. For me, it was cool just to see the support because everybody knows like how I am. Like, I'm more of the quiet guy, just put in work, and I like posting motivational type stuff and telling my story and all that. And for me to like, that was the best shape I was ever in, and to go in there and jump up and hit the rope climb, but just a split second touch my legs right before.
Hmm.
And like you said, a second ago, is other people in that lane or in the heat doing the same thing.
Yep.
But when you're like, you got somebody like Ben Smith in it who won the games before, they're gonna make sure if somebody's ahead of him, they're gonna be keeping a close eye
Yeah.
to make it like that. I just understand how it is. Like, just if somebody's that much better than you and you're smoking them in a workout like that, like, of course, they're gonna start coming over and like, is he doing something that he shouldn't be doing, type thing. So, I like I said, I feel like I handled it the right way and just took it for what it was, and just I went back next year and tried to bust ass, and unfortunately I had the whole pec injury. So,
Yeah.
but
Great.
I will say this, like, I don't feel like it was being that I was a person of color. I really feel like that as, like, if you look at the time space, like, I was moving, like,
Yeah.
I was beating everybody by a good amount.
Yeah.
And I really think that's what it was. Like, you beat Ben Smith by that much and he's in second place. Like, you're not supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
I don't like.
So,
That's
cause some more eyes.
To me, I feel like, I feel like in my mind, that's what CrossFit, the sport of CrossFit should be like. It should be a seesaw of people winning and people losing. Like somebody shouldn't always dominate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like events are too broad for people to really be dominating like they do. I mean, it happens, but it's just so interesting to me that it happens. That people actually just go into a region or go into the games and just blow everybody out the water. It's like, but it shouldn't be set up that way. You would
Yeah.
think that more often than not, like the point differential should be way closer from like 1 to 10
Yeah.
type situation.
Mhm.
But so it's like, and then of course I think that you get judged more strictly because of who you are versus you're not. To me in the back of their mind, you shouldn't be winning.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
we talked to Anastasia, and she's like, when she would be winning events, they wouldn't even think she won. She'd be done to cross the finish line, she says, and they wouldn't even announce. They would think that somebody else was in the lead, but she
Right.
was already done the workout.
Right.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's hard to stand out. Well, and I think also if somebody had been following you as the athlete, they might be like, listen, he's actually very proficient at rope climb. So this would be an event he'd be excelling at versus thinking, well, Ben Smith won last year. So why would he not win that? Like, kind of like what Brandon's saying, like everybody might have different proficiencies versus saying, well, there's only top 3 athletes that are always good. Like,
Yeah.
for us to be able to really analyze and say, well, actually, this was a Jeff Evans event. I'm not surprised he's in the front, but there's not enough of that observation going along because it's just like, here are the top people and they will always be the top because they're just so good, which they are.
Yeah.
They're proficient. They are good athletes, but sometimes there might be an event that somebody might come out of nowhere. I say that they say that a lot when somebody comes out of nowhere and wins, and it's like, no, he didn't come out of nowhere. He's actually really good at these events. So it's hard sometimes to watch that and say like, no, yep, that makes sense. He's height, strength, like there's things that he's really good at. So
As soon as it cut off, like, I know y'all were saying something about like for me, rope climbs and thrusters. Like, thrusters has always been my jam.
mhm.
But pairing it up with rope climbs, like I got really, really good at them because I like attacked them. That one they showed it easy where he was doing the run rope climb.
Yes.
That year, like I was struggling so bad with them on my grip. So like after that year, I really was busting ass to get better at them. And as soon as I saw the workout, I was like, I don't see anybody beat me at this period. And back to my point is, when I'm running through it and I'm ahead of somebody that in their mind that he's already winning the entire region. In their mind, it's like he shouldn't be getting beat that bad. So, like I said, of course, it's going to bring more attention. What can you do?
Yeah, it's true. Well, speaking of that, and as like a long-time competitor in CrossFit, what was your experience with diversity on the competition floor? I mean, we could see what it was like, but what, as the person on the floor, what was it like for you?
I'll say on the platform or on the event stage, you really don't notice anything because you're so tunnel vision on all of it, just in the zone trying to focus on what you got to get done. On the back end, it was more of almost like, I'm sure y'all have dealt with this. Anytime you go a place where it's a ton of white people, and I'm mixed too, by the way. So I kind of understand white people, but I also didn't grow up around that.
Right.
So I can relate in some ways, but then I can't most of the time. But you're friendly with everybody, and I'm cool with everybody, and I hold nothing against them. But anytime you go on where it's like a few black people or Spanish people, I always gravitate towards them because I feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
They understand more of my background and the stuff I've gone through, from a young age or whatnot. You can relate a lot easier. So I felt like it was always like that, like Julian Cerna, Sherman Merrick's, Easy when he hopped over in our division.
Yeah.
I talked to Chandler Smith a few times when he was coming up the last couple of years.
Yeah.
If I would say a few other guys, I can't think of anybody else right now, but it was only a handful. I remember one year, I want to say it was 2013 or 14. Me, Julian, Easy, and a couple other guys, we all took a picture together because it was like we were all people of color out on the field at regionals.
Yeah.
So for me, it was cool. We out there representing, but like I said, at the same time, it's like you walk in and you try to just hang around people that you relate to.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, as an elite competitor trying to get something done, you really don't talk too much in between. It's more hanging out after everything's said and done.
Yeah.
Was it ever a conscious effort on your part to push other people of color to be a part of the CrossFit world, as just even in a regular gym or as an athlete? Was that ever conscious of you? Were you ever purposely trying to push that narrative?
So in the beginning, I would say no, because I just finished college, I was personal training, and I just found CrossFit myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working at this high-end gym. So for me, it was more fun. I get to learn something and I got really good at it. But after a while, I started trying to invite my buddies, from high school and all that, getting them in on it. But they really didn't understand it. It was, some of them, a lot of them play football. So the lifting part was something they could relate to. But it wasn't something that was that they seen themselves doing. Because we, when we grow up as Black people, it's basketball, football, track.
Yeah.
Those are sport, and that literally they started them young, 8, 9 years old, and just that's all they talk about. And me and Aaron Scott, I'm not sure if y'all know him, but we talk about it a lot. Of you see all these teen athletes, and he actually went to the teen championship. I think it was last year with Mal O'Brien.
Yeah.
James, and so Aaron was out there, and he said basically I think it was 1 or 2 kids of color, and the rest were all white kids. And for me and him, we want to put ourselves in a position to start bringing more exposure to our communities.
Mm-hmm.
And the same way we treat football, basketball, and track, we want to get that started with CrossFit.
Yeah.
And got a lot of high school programs starting to add and stuff like that. And he's busting ass to get it up in Detroit as a part of their whole school system, which is, I'm pushing hard with my supplement company so I can help him with that down the road. But I definitely feel like, it's right now is the perfect time for us to keep pushing, like constantly inviting our friends and family to come try it out. Because it is for everybody. We just have to build that awareness. Like, it's on us. We're already a part of the community. We love it. But it's on us to keep bringing more people in. Like, CrossFit is, I look at all these companies, CrossFit, Noble, and all these other ones. Like, once that whole thing happened with, what the hell is the guy's name? The old owner. I'm blanking on his name. Greg Glassman.
Yeah.
Yeah. But once that whole situation happened, like, you notice there was more pictures and videos of people of color, and like they trying to start showing that they're inclusive. But to me, that's not original.
Right.
Like, with my company, and I made a post a couple of weeks ago, like, from day one, because I'm mixed, like, back in the old days, I wasn't allowed to be born. Like, just having two people of different color, like, that was a no-no. So for me, I always felt like, even with my family growing up, I was never black enough or never white enough. Like, I'm right in the middle, and I'm always like, just it's a weird feeling. So, like, for me to have everybody feel included, whether you black, white, Asian, Hispanic, gay, straight, whatever, like, I want everybody to feel a part of this. And that's why, like, my brand with Serious Performance, like, I'm busting ass to make sure that people see, like, it's intentional. Like, I don't want anybody to feel like I'm doing it just to say, oh, I got a black guy, or I got a Spanish chick. Like, I don't ever want to have that on somebody's mind. Like, it's not genuine to me.
Yeah.
But is what it is on their part. But I just, like I said, with us being in it, like, it's our responsibility to start pulling people in.
Yeah. How much do you think, because your name has come up a few times in the interviews, because you were one of the, like, 2013, 2014, kind of starting with like Akinwale, Alex Nettie, like, you're one of those names that people bring up when you think of any athlete of color that was competitive in CrossFit, period. So how much do you feel your influence had on, like, now we're looking at the Chandler Smiths, like, on bringing in people of color, seeing that, hey, this man's on the biggest competition stage in CrossFit. How much do you feel that? Or do you think, like, no, I wasn't really highlighted, honestly? Like, how much do you see that from the past kind of leading into now?
I looking back, because once y'all sent me the questions, I started thinking about situations. Looking back, I feel like they gave me a decent amount of exposure based on my fitness level, like what I did. So, like, I was always a strong guy in CrossFit, like, clean and jerk match, like, everybody had to come see me with that. And leading up to regionals and even the open, sometimes, like, they would, have me do interviews with Pat Sherwood and different things like that. So I felt like they saw me as like a dark horse, which, every year I'm coming and trying to show out. But it was so many other people, like Elizabeth Akinwale, like you said, Alex Nettie. Like, I wish I would have saw more of them, because they were OGs compared to me. Like, I feel like I'm an OG now because it's been, 8-9 years. And for me to look up to them, like, and same with Easy, like all these people I seen when I started, those are people I was looking up to.
Right.
So I feel like they, like, again, like, the old owner had his view on everything, and it wasn't intentional to show everybody and make sure everybody feels included. So, like I said, now they're getting on it, and I'm glad they are. But back then, it's just, I felt like I got a decent amount based on my fitness level, but the rest of them that were sitting in that, in that top echelon of athletes, especially Akinwale, like, I thought I should have saw her even more than what she was posted about. I remember they did like a handstand video and like little stuff like that just pops in my head, but nothing like really solid, like where they're really like boosting her up.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of answers my question when it comes to if a person of color was the top athlete, they would push them more. So he answered as if he was exposed by how well he competed. So I like just to double down on it, do you feel that if a black athlete was the best CrossFitter or weightlifter, well, not just CrossFitter, they would push them forward as the face of the sport?
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like what they're doing with Chandler,
Yeah.
because he finished sixth, like he's legit, he's solid, he's top 6 in the world last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're doing it right. But for us, and I see this in the comments and all this stuff, people are talking about, they're just trying to overexpose them to make sure they say they're inclusive and stuff like that. Which
Yeah.
you can you can think about both sides, but he got 6.
Right.
So he is a legit guy. So they should be posting that much. But for us as a community, like I was saying, like we need to start getting these kids in young
Mm-hmm.
and getting them in the system so they can build up. Because like we're athletic as hell, black people, period. Like I said, I came in, I was a year and a half and I made the games and my condition wasn't great, but like I was just super strong. And then you see like people like Chandler who he's strong as hell, but he has a conditioning. Like imagine if you had Chandler 10 years ago and started him
Right.
and, young age and got him in, got his form down and conditioning, just same way James is training Mal.
Yeah.
Like if you had Chandler back then, like what could he be right now? Just
Right.
dominant.
Yeah.
And that's why, like I said, for me, I've always been about finding the solution and putting it into play. And that's why I was saying, like me and Aaron are really trying to push what I'm doing now with this company, because we got some big goals in Detroit. I got some back home, like really starting to get these kids in the system of CrossFit and building them up as like a legit sport we can be great at.
Yeah.
So just let me backtrack a little bit. So you
Yeah.
still heavily participate in CrossFit for yourself as just
So
fitness. Like, do you still just train that way?
yeah, so I'm a little different because like when I first started CrossFit, it was nothing but CrossFit. But I understood because I got my degree in kinesiology and I trained under some great coaches. And the way I think about training is so much different than a lot of people. So like all this bodybuilding stuff, isolation, athletic, like sport development, all that stuff that everybody's doing now, I was doing that before, like when I first started. And that's coming into play. So like I've always been a person that breaks it down. Like I'm gonna do strongman sessions, bodybuilding. Like I can't do pure CrossFit because like I feel like it's just putting too much on your body. You see the athletes come in for a few years and fall apart, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Because they're too much of CrossFit type events or workouts instead of breaking each part down to get better at it.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, it reminds me of like, when you train in football, like you don't just go out there and run routes all day. Like you work footwork drills, hand drills, like hand-eye coordination. Like you work each part of it and it puts the whole thing together.
Yeah.
So I've always been about that as far as my training.
Yeah, but
because it does work, but you have to have, otherwise you're going to have a lot of injuries and stuff like that.
But we did see that you did still do the open workout. So you
Yeah.
still got it.
Yeah, well, my times don't got it.
They're still there. They're still there.
But so like for me, because I'm so busy with work and stuff, like the last 4 Fridays I was doing events for my supplement company, and I, because of how I am, like I'm so competitive and in the environment, like I love just being around people and having fun with them and throwing down. I talked myself into it because that was the one I just did was my 4th workout in 4 weeks.
Oh wow!
Like, yeah, I've been like so focused on work, like I can't get any kind of workout time in. But for me, like I said, it's just forget it. Let's go throw down. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, it also probably helped that it had thrusters and do a max lift, so that was probably nice for you.
I definitely talked myself into that one. I was like, what, I gotta at least see what I can get.
Yeah.
We're going to do the
So let's talk about just through your CrossFit career. And I know it's been a long one and you're retired now, but do you feel like you faced microaggressions often in your career? And if you did, how did you address them? Whether that was with other athletes or maybe just other coaches or other interview. I know there was, like you said, Pat Sherwood was one of the people that interviewed you, but I know there's a host of people that are also involved in the broadcasting of CrossFit Games and regionals and things like that. But have you ever experienced anything since you've been competing?
So I would say I've never experienced any like race issues with anybody. It's more of the lack of understanding. Like people, they always saw me as like the cocky guy because I was quiet. Because I'm always trying to figure out what you're about. Like that's just how I function. But I feel like the communication was always the issue. Like people just didn't understand what I was about. And it's like I said, it's hard to relate. Like if I go up to Sherman Merrick's or Easy, like I can spark up a conversation about anything because he'll understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's different when you got, somebody from California, athlete, and this lifestyle is different. They're, white guy is different to talk about things outside of just the workout,
Yeah.
So I would say that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I know somebody who might be able to relate, but I won't say any names. But I think that's a big one, just because I feel like there is also socially and culturally, there are different ways people interact with other people. And sometimes it can look as you're like the cocky guy or the guy that's just too intimidating to approach. That usually comes up a lot with people that shall not be named. But it's often because like there's just a different approach sometimes. Again, like culturally, socially, like a lot of Black people are not conditioned because of years of generational trauma to just go up to white people and just start a conversation or talk to them any type of way. And I think there is this like lack of understanding that it's not a rudeness thing, it's a comfort level. And it's not me being standoffish or being the I'm too good to talk to you person. It takes a lot to really go up to somebody and start a conversation when, if you ask our grandparents or our great grandparents, that's not something you're supposed to do, like, so everybody's training that way.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, like the way I was raised, it was sit down, shut up. Yep. Like it's show no emotion. Like that's how I was raised. And it, I've slowly been, passing, kind of leaving that baggage in the past. Cause I don't want my daughter to see that. Like I need to be able to open, express myself, communicate. And I'm so much better than I was, 5-10 years ago. Mm-hmm. But that's how we were raised. Like I don't go out of my way to talk to somebody I just that doesn't understand me. So, and it's a couple guys. I'll say it was a few white guys that I always click with. They're cool as shit. But for the most part, I felt like majority of guys you can tell they just won't understand you. So it's just I'll leave it at that. Do my own thing.
What was like your home gym, not your home gym, but like the local CrossFit gym that you were a part of coming through the years? What was that experience like? Was that something easy for you because it was like a diverse gym, or was it not a diverse gym? Like, was there challenges in just the gym?
Yeah, well, so my situation was a little different than most people because I was personal training at a gym, and me, my manager, and the owner, we all got certified together because we saw like it was going to be something big. So we got certified together, and I was the head coach for that gym. The company got bought out, and I ended up leaving. My buddy opened his own gym up, so I ran that CrossFit and was head trainer and all that stuff. And then from there, I left and opened my own CrossFit gym. And so it's kind of been a lot different. I've been kind of like at the higher end of like either owning the gym or running the gym kind of thing. So it's, a lot of people I see, some of the comments that they go in, they sign up and, or go through on-ramp class, and there's, 1 or 2 Black people in there in the entire, community. So it's a lot different than what I had because I was more on the business end. And then being an elite athlete, like I came in trying to make money. So like all I was focused on getting my training done and coaching people. So it was a little different on my end.
Yeah.
What do you?
But now I saw y'all posted something about Crunch Fitness. So now because of my schedule, Crunch has like platforms and all that stuff. It's $10 a month.
Yeah.
So why not just go there? I can do my lifting. And, they have rowers, they have, treadmills, all the bodybuilding stuff. And I can get most of my CrossFit stuff going with that. But if I do go to a gym, it's Maverick CrossFit over here.
Okay.
In yeah, Jeff, the owner Jeff, he's a cool dude. He's a good guy. He has a great program there too.
So what do you think about gym owners and even gym coaches in the CrossFit community where they have the thought process of leaving like those difficult conversations at the door when you come into the gym? No racial talk, diversity talk, no equality talk. Like do you think that's something that should be left at the door, or should it be welcomed in the gym and just having talks like that?
So as the owner, I would be the one, like my mindset is seek to understand, like, especially with all this stuff going on, like my business partner, they own CrossFit Vero Strength and Condition. I forgot they CrossFit Vero Beach. But they don't really promote CrossFit anymore. They stopped that like 5-6 years ago because they seen
wow.
it was almost like a negative to be associated with CrossFit because of injuries back then. So they still have it, but they kind of rebranded. But that as soon as that happened, she texted me and she was like, "I don't understand this. Like, I want to understand because we have a couple African American people at the gym." And I just told her straight up, like I hopped on a phone call. We had like 30-40 minute phone call and just honest conversation. Like if it was me and looking up to my coach, like just have a normal conversation. Like it shouldn't be anything where it's, stressful or a burden. Like it's a conversation just to understand and get to that, past that barrier. And from that point, now it makes sense to like I said, it's on us to start bringing more people in.
Mm-hmm.
Like they can't. She even went out and started reaching out to high schools to see if they can donate memberships and all this, but they don't understand.
Right.
So they weren't like they were kind of like, why is she coming here? Offering. We don't understand that we're doing football and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's both ways. So, but I think the owners have to be open about just having a conversation, just saying, look, I don't understand it. Let me figure it out. Talk with you, and then how can we, get more people in here that you feel like should be in here,
Yeah, which it brings up an interesting conversation because I did want to ask about like as a leader and a business owner, now that you have your own brand, and I mean you've been a gym owner, but I think sometimes a gym owner can be so in your community, your performance is supposed to be large, global, international, national. So as a brand owner now, how do you fit those conversations of race, racism, or diversity and what that truly looks like versus performative diversity? And I think you kind of touched on it earlier when you talked about, how you promote your products and that kind of thing. But can you tell us a little bit more about with your brand partners or like whoever else you're working with, how you encourage that conversation?
Yeah, honestly, it's like I was saying about just having that conversation with a gym owner. Like me as a brand owner, I need to make sure people understand that's a part of my mission.
Yeah.
So like we got our 4 pillars of impact, and I talk about this all the time because like that's my mission. Make sure I leave the generation above me and below me better than when I'm dead and gone.
Yeah.
And beyond my family, like the better I do with this business, my of course my family's gonna be taken care of, but what else am I gonna be able to put out there to get somebody to start thinking outside of their comfort zone? Because when I grew up, college, like outside of football, like business, investing, stock market, like all that stuff was nobody talks about that. So like I'm trying to impact that. But my 4 pillars are health, performance, because that's what CrossFit is. Health, and the sport is all about capacity and performance, but the diversity and then the youth. So like making sure I constantly talk about those 2 things. Like we donate 6% of our profits every month to kid charities.
Wow.
And like Marky Oliver, he saying black guy over in Tampa area, he has a nonprofit called Specialty Fit. And I went out of my way because I was looking for a partner, that somebody of color that's doing big thing. He also has a big event over there on the beach, like 600-700 athletes.
Wow.
So I'm supporting him on that end, like supporting that black business and making sure we're in alignment. But like I'm going out of my way to make sure like people know like it's intentional because we got a lot of momentum right now, from all the stuff outside of CrossFit that happened last year with all this social injustice and whatnot. like we got to keep that momentum going. And like I said, I talk about it all the time, social media posts or whatnot. Like I'll just randomly be thinking about it and just start posting like, look, some of these companies might be posting pictures of more Black people and Spanish people, but like I am who I say I am, and I want to make sure y'all understand. Like I pick the athletes I have because I want to make sure they feel included, and everybody on the outside in, like like Chavez or Henry Matthews, who's a regional guy over in Tampa, like to have a young Black boy or a Spanish girl or Asian boy or whatnot, like they can look at my athletes and say, I want to be like them.
Right.
And it doesn't matter the level. They can be elite, regional level, like weekend warrior, like, but they see somebody that looks like them and be excited about training harder to get up to that level where they can get a sponsorship or something like that.
Yeah.
So for me, like, if you know me, like how I am, like I don't bullshit anybody. Like it is what it is. Like I want to make sure people know, like I'm serious about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it really just comes down to posting about it, talking about it. Like people have to know, like they can't just expect you to, to have all that. They got to know the intention behind it, or just posting about it, just saying we have it. Like be intentional, talk about it.
Yeah. And I think something you said is very important, and something we brought up on a lot of our episodes is that it's not just going to happen, right? Like you can't just, because a lot of people back when, now it's been like almost a year, they're like, well, it's not our fault. Our gym's not diverse. Like this is just our community we're in. This is just, this is just what it is. But you can, like you said, you talked to that gym owner. She went to the local high school and was like, hey, are there athletes that would be interested if we donated a membership? Like there are ways. You went out your way and sought out athletes that you wanted to represent your brand, because you want that inclusivity to be noticed, and also be aware that it's not just gonna happen. Like, you're not just gonna say like, yeah, CrossFit is diverse, we let anybody in, but not actually go and make people feel invited. So that's
exactly
a big point to hone in on, because it can be done. You're doing it.
Yep. Yeah, you just got to put the work in. And like I said, for me, this goes back to when I was a kid. Like, like I said before, like I'm mixed. So like growing around, like I grew up 99%, almost 100% of the time I was with my Black family. Like my mom lived down in Florida. All my white side lives in Indiana. So I really don't know them outside of a couple aunts and uncles. But like I said, it's just the mindset that we have over the years and years going through slavery, Jim Crow, like all of that stuff. Like we have the momentum now to break all that shit out, like get away from it and just focus on getting ahead and bettering ourselves.
Yeah.
As far as like whether it's CrossFit business, overall life, mental health, like all of that stuff, we got a lot of momentum and we got to just keep our foot on the gas.
Do you feel that a state like Florida, that job is harder to achieve, or that goal is harder to achieve?
Honestly, for me, I always try to focus on the people that are willing to expand their mindsets. Like I don't spend time, if you want to sit there and just keep complaining about stuff that's bad happening, because I come from the same place a lot of other people come from. I got brothers that's been to jail and like, dealing with the streets, and some of them still in the streets. Like that's where I come from, but I had a different mindset to get me out of that shit. And I'm still like, in my head where I see I want to be down the road 40, 50 years old and put my daughter ahead and making the impact. Like I can't sit and focus on the people that aren't willing to just, it's behind me, let's move forward. Like I can't focus on those people. I got the ones that are ready to be pulled up. Like I'm trying to pull everybody up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what are your ideas on, especially as somebody who's been in the more competitive aspect of it, on how to diversify the sport of CrossFit? I think a lot of gyms are trying to strategize ways to make their gym more diverse, whether they open it up to, like you said, more schools or younger kids or that kind of thing. But how about the sport? Because there are people out there that are trying to be competitive, but maybe don't know that they can be pushed up to, we don't have regionals anymore, but be more.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Right. Like, how do you feel like we could diversify that sport of CrossFit and the competitive world of it?
So this goes back to what I was saying. Like our mindset is so, as Black community, is so stuck on football, basketball, track. Like I said, we're in it. Like y'all CrossFit, I CrossFit. It's my job now to find people, like look at athletes that have potential and work with them, and or even provide resources. Like I said, Aaron Scott, he's up in Detroit. He's working with a lot of football players, but he sees some of these kids that are getting hooked on CrossFit. Like even if I can find a way to support him, like on the money side, resource side, like that's my responsibility, and he can help groom them to build them up. Like we were talking about this, we talk damn near every day, but we were talking about this the other day, and like if we can have some kind of like scholarship or whatnot where we can provide like supplements and memberships and like something like that, to where we can have athletes going to the gym, like what Easy is doing. Like he has all these kids getting hooked on CrossFit now. Like imagine what it'll be in 10 years if they stay with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what it is. Like we just, as the ones in it doing CrossFit, whether high level, average, weekend warrior, whatever, like as a CrossFit athlete, we need to start just pulling more people in and just getting them to see like they can make money doing this and becoming like a real sport.
All right. Now so you've been at the elite level, so you know what the training does to your body. You know how it feels to actually achieve like a good score or be on the leaderboard. Like, what do you? And this is like kind of not a personal, but a training aspect question. Like, how do you talk to those youth kids to let them understand that there's more than just the pain you'll go through or the discomfort you'll go through workouts and stuff? Because I feel like a lot of teens or even people in general shy away from CrossFit training methodology because of how it feels going through the work. Do you think is it just if you're in it, you're in it? If you like that feeling, you like chasing that feel and that accomplishment, it is what it is. But if you don't, then you're just gonna like, do you just not waste your time with those people or kids, or is there a way to kind of still promote it positively? I don't know. My question is kind of
No, I think I understand what you're saying. So you always gonna have the different scales of, it's just like in football. You always gonna have those ones that really stand out, and you can tell like they just get hooked on it, obsessive with it. They want to get better and just keep going hard. That's how I was when I started CrossFit. Like I trained 1 month, ended up winning a couple $100. Like I was hooked, and having that background that I had in football, I understand it's all about the process. Like break every movement down. Whatever you weak at, strong at, you just gotta follow the program and just stick to the process and focus on that. And I've got, back in my early days, I used to get ahead of myself and like I should be here because Rich Frohn is here or Frazier's here. And instead of focusing on myself, I would think about other things. But now that I'm older and more wise, like it's all about the process. So, when those athletes do come in, like I said, you'll notice the ones that really excel, even though you treat them all the same and give them the same attention, like pushing them each. But the ones that excel, like they're going to always want more, like from you.
Yeah, they're going to want that push. What do you feel about brands being more conscious of inclusive sponsorships or backing athletes? A lot of some of the things that people have said to us is that there's not a lot of the bigger brands like a Noble or I can't think of anything. I mean, even Rogue. Or Rogue. Like Rogue has kind of, and Taylor kind of talked about this, like Rogue has kind of gotten behind more athletes of color, but like as far as CrossFit goes, like sponsorships, there are athletes that are sponsored that you see that are getting more money to be able to take time or maybe take a step back from another profession to train more, are usually not athletes of color. Like, do you see that being a challenge in the sport of getting like some of that money?
Yeah. So for me, I always look at it from both sides. Like the business side, they want somebody that's producing, period. Because I was with Nike, I was one of the first 3 or 4 athletes they signed as far as the men.
Wow.
And when I got my contract, I think lasted like 3 years, but you notice like you're not getting as much each contract if you're not producing. So I always look at that end, because money makes the world go round, period. And that's going to be first in their head as far as sponsoring somebody. But again, this goes back to us raising these kids and getting them in the program. Like, we have to get up to that level so they can't leave us out.
Right.
Like, it's gonna be hard. Like, if Chandler gets second, third, first, like, every one of these sponsors is gonna be hopping on him because he's
Right.
producing. And that's why, like, I'm excited for him this year, because if he hits that top 5, 6 again, now it's gonna be even more people trying to jump on the train because he's producing. So, but for me, it's more of the solution. Like, we need to start raising more high school, middle school kids up in the system, and that's why, like, James is one of my good friends now, and like, I love what he's doing with Mal.
Yeah.
She has like the mindset I have. Like, I see the process, and I put my head down and just go to work.
Yep.
Like, I don't care how bad my body's feeling. Like, we just getting it in, and I can see that in her, and we talk about it. I'll text him and it's like, man, she has that.
Yeah.
That, like, it factor with that mindset. And again, like, you'll find those athletes that just understand, like, to get to where I want to get to, that first place overall, like, I got to go through this pain, and that's is what it is. Like, I just got to get it done. So I think we'll end up getting there, but we just got to make that conscious effort of raising these athletes up in the CrossFit world to get more people of color in throw their hat or name in a ring.
Yeah. Have you guys thought about, because I feel like this comes up a lot in my experience of talking to people, that collegiate level athlete, that, because again, you think about, like, the NFL is only so big and NBA is only so big, and you've got these athletes like, I think about, like, Brandon, who was like collegiate athlete, and that's how he was like, I needed something to do, because I think kind of honing in on some of those athletes that still have that competitive mindset, still have the conditioning from their college sport, which that's a very daunting sport to be in. You have to still do school and do day in, day out training. How can CrossFit kind of hone in on those athletes that might have a mindset like, I do want to do something athletic competitively for money, but there's nothing out there. Like, I already did try to go to the NFL. I already tried to go to the CFL in Canada. I tried to do the D League. It's not working. Arena football. Nothing's out there for me. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to just go home. Like, how can CrossFit do a better job tapping into some of those other arenas after the young athletes, but that in-between age? Like, I feel like there's that in-between group that gets forgotten, but there's a lot of athletes that could come out of that.
Yeah, so that was me. Like, I finished college. I was like 6-8 months of doing just personal training and football type workouts, and I ended up finding CrossFit. And like I said, once I found out you can make money and I won a little bit, it was on and popping. Like, I was in it, and right. So I feel like with CrossFit, if they can find a way to start highlighting people like me that came into sport right out of college,
right,
and I do it with some of the athletes, like some of the white athletes that say, like, college swimmer or all these other different sports they play, but just highlighting some of the people of color that have come through the college system and now they're a pro athlete or even former pro athletes, like, and then start putting it out there more, like, about the I guess the business of it, like, what can you make as a professional CrossFitter? Like, just make it more attractive. Because we got, there's, and once you get from high school to college, you're in that basically that, top 10%, and then you get in that 1%, other 1% to go to the league. And it's tons, like thousands of athletes that just go right to doing nothing, or a lot of them I know right to personal training, or just get in the corporate type world, but they still want to do something, like you said. So I think you'll have a ton of athletes, like, if they can figure out how to market to those people, diversity wouldn't be an issue, because they know they can make, they'll come in already athletic, and you can just build their base up, and we'll see way more people.
Did you ever indulge in that Florida Grid League?
No, so I actually know Mather really good. I interviewed him like 4 or 5 weeks ago. I never did grid because I was so focused on my individual career, and being that, like, I had it set up where I had to focus on certain things, like 4 months out from the open, like, it was all gymnastics, conditioning, off seat, like, I had it set up right. So I never, like, I wanted to do it because I was that strong, like, I would be able to be their specialist for that strength part for cycling. and it'd be fun, but at the same time, like I was looking at the bigger picture on it.
Yeah.
Do you think grid is a more entertaining and possibly more lucrative if they push that type of CrossFit style versus what we have right now?
I mean, honestly, there's two even with CrossFit team, like CrossFit individuals, and you got CrossFit team, and then you got grid. Like there's both teams are still different styles. Like when I was trying to understand it more, is it's more like a football game. Like you got like an hour of set space, and they just go out and bang out workouts after workout. Like it's real quick, fast, high intensity. And from what he was saying, it's really just getting more contracts and building the exposure on it to be able to start paying athletes even more. Because I really like to understand the business end of these things, and he said they're on track to start really bringing more like big time money in for these athletes and these teams that win. So I'm excited to see where he can take that sport, because they want to expand nationwide. They're focused on Florida to get the business model right. But he's thinking about like Texas and up in the Northeast, like where there's pockets of a lot of athletes that can put teams together.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be cool to see. Well, I think that's all we have for today. That was a lot.
Oh, cool.
Is there anything you want to plug? And I think there is. Please go away.
Yeah, so whenever y'all get a chance, it's CerusPerformance.com, and that's CerusPerformance.com. I created a first of its kind product. So like I was saying earlier, it's the first endurance or capacity pre-workout, but you also take it for cardiovascular support.
Wow.
And I work in the cardiovascular pharma sales world. So I'm seeing like all the data on heart attacks and cardiovascular death, and like these numbers are insane. So I really want people to focus on their health. Like my father actually passed away in 2015 from a heart attack. So I understand the impact what that has. So like taking health serious is big time for me. And then on the performance side, like I've done a lot of testing on it and all that on VO2, and it's proven to increase all that. So anybody that got any questions, that hit me up personally. Like I answer everybody. Like I'll never be too big to answer, simple DM and just make sure like, people, I bring that service and value to them. But other than that, like my message to everybody is impact, like lead this earth with more than just yourself and your family. Like if you can pull somebody outside up, like pull them up.
Well, thank you so much. This was so fun and nice, and it was very cool to talk to you, because we've seen you compete for a while. So this was great.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, like I said, I love talking about these different topics, and like I said, we just need to keep having them more and more, and to where it's comfortable. It's not like a burden or awkward. Like just have the conversation. Let's figure out solutions, and let's get to work.
Yes, we're getting to work. Well, thank you again, and we will see everybody soon.
You got the hookup now.
Thanks for tuning in. Lift and love all day, every day. Like and subscribe.